Welcome back to BunkaiGaming. This is Matt. So, Ubisoft and Massive just had their recent State of the Game where they discussed about a lot of the upcoming changes in 1.2 for The Division. So the first thing they discussed in the stream was regarding the loot and how that was a bit lackluster in the current versions and that it will be increasing pretty dramatically in 1.2. They're also saying that they're guaranteeing that high-end weapons and gear will drop from specific activities within the game world. And this is a good thing because our main complaint at this point in time is getting access to a lot of this high-end gear. At the moment we seem to be constantly barraged with a lot of lower-end equipment that we can't utilise whatsoever. And as they push away more and more from the crafting system, these loot drops are going to be essential for us to be able to progress through the game. So one thing they also did discuss was in regard to gear sets and how that they've been tailored to specific areas. Looking at the Nomad gear set at this point in time is really only accessible through the Dark Zone. But they're saying now with the changes of 1.2, it will actually be able to get those gear sets through any activity, whether it's in the PvP or the PvE. They're saying the condition behind this is to get the other gear sets, it may be at a lower percentage or chance of getting them than you would if you're actually in that zone. They also discussed how the weapon balance will be happening after 1.2. They also said they're looking at readjusting these weapons, especially the underused weapons that are not really used within the game at this point in time, to give them a bit more functionality and get people out there trying different weapons. They're also looking at the talents at this point in time and seeing how they can fix them or also change them around to become more useful. They also discussed about the armor cap and its increasing to 75%. And allowing players to survive encounters because players at this point in time seem to be focusing more on a DPS build over a health build. So next up they discussed the upcoming changes to the PvE side of the game, and the first thing that they discussed was the search and destroy contracts that will be available at the various different safe houses around the PvE world. And then what you can do is basically, if the mission board is select one of these contracts, go around and kill a certain amount of NPCs in a couple different locations, then come back and then collect what they call intel credits. They did state that the search and destroy missions are mainly based around the fact that people who are building up towards level 30, it gives them a way to farm more experience, but they also guaranteed that a 163 item would drop for those people. But it's also important for the next thing that's available in the base operation, which is the high value targets. So at the base of operations, there's now 2 new NPCs that will be there. And this allows you to select these high value targets for either a daily reward or weekly one. And this is what you can spend your intel credits on to be able to activate these contracts or missions. So these various contracts will be at different costs. And as the cost increases, also the level of difficulty increases of the NPCs that you'll be facing. They did, however, state that these contracts do have a timer attached to them, so once you activate them you have to complete it within that time. They also stated that you would not be able to select multiple contracts at once, you have to do them one at a time. Next they talk about high risk targets, and these differ a little bit from the high value targets, as in that if you die during the activity or the timer runs out and you don't complete it, you don't get any reward. This means you have to basically go back to the base of operations, reselect that mission and repurchase it through intel tokens to be able to complete it again. So there's a lot of positive changes upcoming with the 1.2 update. They're making loot more accessible, and if you go on the Ubisoft website, and I'll leave a link below, they talk about where you can get specific loot and gear from the activities and know what kind of levels you're going to potentially get. But it gives people a lot of options now, especially for people like myself who don't like or enjoy the PvP part of the game, the Dark Zone. It gives you a lot of options now, because at the present time without this, the only way to get really high-end gear is through the incursion, and that can be difficult in itself sometimes to be able to complete that. Next up they discuss some of the upcoming changes to the PvP side of the game, and probably one of the most controversial going around at the moment is the hijacking of the extractions. A lot of people are very worried and concerned about this, myself included when I first initially saw the trailer. So during the stream they were able to show in more detail the mechanics behind how this is going to happen. So what will actually happen once you commence cutting the rope, you will have a 6-second timer to be able to completely cut that rope through. At that point in time, you also become rogue for 19 seconds. But this is also mitigated through the fact that any damage that you take can also extend the timer it takes to cut through the rope. So it's a very high risk, high reward type scenario. They also said they were going to continue to monitor it and tweak it if necessary. They said that the premise behind it was the fact that a lot of the tension behind getting your gear out was removed once you knew that you could pop your survivor link, get it onto the rope, and knew that the gear was out of the dark zone. So they're hoping to return some of that tension back. And they did say that the most important thing to them was the fact that it was fun and not frustrating. But I still have my concerns about it. There is the fact that you could go into the dark zone and basically try to extract stuff and then be ambushed by 3 or 4 groups of people and not be able to extract that gear. And it's that unknown variable which can be very frustrating at times. They also demonstrated on the stream about the new Clear Sky incursion and showed us the first section of this mission. They also specified that it'd be very important to tailor your group around more specific type roles like a heavy tank, maybe a healer, to be able to complete these incursions. Lastly, they showed the upcoming gear sets that are coming out with 1.2, and they're very interesting with the talent sets that they have on them. Some of them are very based around increasing the DPS for weapons, especially weapons that haven't been utilized within the game up to this point. Others are very defensive and allow you to be that very much tank role. So it'll be really good to see how we can mix and match the current gear sets with the upcoming gear sets to create some really interesting builds. So I'm really looking forward to 1.2 coming out and diving into the game. I think a lot of these elements will bring back a lot of that freshness to the game and make it really interesting. But this begs the question, will they be able to bring back the player base that they've currently lost? And this is really dependent on how Ubisoft and Massive sell this, and also that they can keep on top of the problems. Because if there's suddenly another glitch or a problem with the new incursion or with some of the updates that come out, I think this is going to drive players away again. And because people have lost confidence in them, so it's going to take them a lot of time to rebuild that confidence. So let me know in the comments below if you think the 1.2 update is a great update, or if you think it's not going to be enough to be able to hold your interest within the game itself. Also, let me know below if you stopped playing the game and give me some ideas of why you stopped playing the game, and are you going to give the game another opportunity. Thank you very much, and I'll talk to you in the next video. Bye.